You like that? Woo!
What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Pull Up Show. My name is BJ Matthews, aka B. Just before we get started, follow us on the YouTube page, the Pull Up Basketball Podcast. You know what I'm saying? Like, share, subscribe to all of our YouTube videos by hitting that subscribe button on the YouTube page. Hit that notification bell to get all updated content. Let's get it popping. All right, y'all. We got another hot topic for y'all today. You know what I'm saying? Also, if you guys want to show love to the Pull Up Basketball Podcast, go into that ticker y'all see at the bottom of the Cash App, $ BJ Matthews. Again, $ BJ Matthews. Show us some love for, continuously giving y'all this fire content. We definitely love and appreciate everything that y'all have done for us, man. Um, and yeah, man, let's get it going. All right. So we are approximately 3 days removed from the passing of Mr. Bill Russell. He passed away on Sunday morning. We were actually doing a live show, doing our, daily work, every Sunday we do our live shows. My partner, Rick Masters, that's 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Every Sunday we do our weekly Sunday shows. And as we were doing our live, one of our subscribers, Bubba Chuck, Dallas Sports, said that, Bill Russell had passed away at the age of 88. So instant shock, that Mr. Russell passed away. Did a tribute video for him the next day on Monday following his death. So RIP to Mr. Russell, the Celtic legend, NBA icon, NBA great, you know what I'm saying? Ultimate respect, the Godfather. I like to call him the Godfather. Ultimate respect to Mr. Russell. But I want to kind of continuously talk about some of the great things he's done. And, we'll be here all day if we, went through the list. But I just want to continuously show that, Mr. Russell is just a great man. And, he's part of the reason why a lot of these younger guys that y'all see, these are some of the guys that, looked up to him. Well, I wouldn't say looked up per se, but they know who he is. They understand that he's the Godfather. He's the guy that paved the way for a lot of these guys to, be who they are and get the position that they're in. When it pertains to basketball, he has 11 championships. That's the main thing about Bill Russell. When we talk about him, he has 11 championships in 13 seasons. He's played from 1957 to 1969, which is remarkable. We talk about, the all the records he broke with, on the defensive end, rebounding, blocking shots. I think he averaged like 24, 25-point rebounds in his entire career, which is like video game mode, which will never be done again. Only person that was close was this guy, Bill Russell, who was right beside him. But all in all, Bill Russell, as far as on the court, he's known as the ultimate leader, ultimate winner, team sport guy. That's who Bill Russell is known for. And I just want to kind of talk a little bit more about another subject that I think a lot of people are somewhat overlooking and have not really touched base on. And that's his relationship with the late, great Kobe Bryant, who also passed away 2 years ago in a tragic helicopter crash. I still can't believe Kobe Bryant's no longer here. He was my favorite player. People who know me know how much Kobe Bryant, I studied him. I watched him. Grew up in California with the Lakers. That was my favorite player of all time. So, it's still hard to believe that he's no longer here at a young age. He died at 41 years old. And now him and Bill Russell, I'm pretty sure, are together again. But while they were both on Earth, people did not know that Kobe and Bill Russell had a very tight relationship. Bill Russell referred to Kobe Bryant as his son. He referred to Kobe Bryant as somebody he couldn't be more proud of. And then, of course, Kobe Bryant has so much admiration for Bill Russell, being the only guy that's read all of his books. All the books that Bill Russell, I don't know how many books he put out, but Kobe Bryant, being a very smart, intelligent man, wasn't a stranger to opening and reading books. Y'all know the famous story about him, trying to figure out how to guard Allen Iverson. He started reading books about sharks. And once he figured out how Allen Iverson, how to guard him, pretty much that became another, notch in his belt of the greatness of Kobe. Like he's always staying in the way to get like an advantage over you. And, you know, anytime he can do that, he's gonna do it. And he, you know, decided to read Bill Russell's books and, you know, certain things he picked off of Bill Russell. And when they had conversation, Kobe would mention, mention that. But it's ironic that they have so much of a relationship because you guys could see Bill Russell was Boston Celtic grade and Kobe Bryant was the Los Angeles Laker grade. So anybody who knows the rivalry between these two is that this is probably the most heated rivalry of all time between the Lakers and the Celtics to this day. So it's just like, you know, it's kind of like, you know, the Cowboys and the Eagles and um um Cowboys and the Eagles or the I don't know, the Yankees and the Mets or the whatever big rivalry you want to talk about, that's what the Boston Celtics and LA Lakers, that's what it is. So I want to play a video of Kobe Bryant talking about Bill Russell giving him some advice about leadership and how to handle a team. Like this was some advice he gave him right before Kobe won his first two championships in 2009, 2010. So let's see what Kobe had to say.
What have you learned from Bill Russell?
Wow. So tactically speaking, because, you know, I always geek out about the game. He said, when I played, I could score the ball. I could handle the ball. And I could pass the ball. But it was really important. In order for us to win, I had to look at my teammates and say, okay, there's other players here that do that better. Therefore, I must allow them to do that. And what I do best is defend and rebound. So I'm going to completely focus on that. Let Kuzi handle the ball. Right? Let Sams be the shooter. Havlicek be the shooter. And I thought that was a very, very insightful thing that I used in how I was able to go on and win those two championships post-Shaq.
What did you learn about leadership from Bill Russell?
Wow. You know, one of the things he said is at the time he was dealing with a lot of racial issues in Boston. And stories, people throwing things at him during the game and yelling, you know, the craziest things to him on the court. I said, well, how did you deal with it? He said, well, I internalized it. I felt like the best thing that I could do is use that as fuel as opposed to just simply having an emotional outburst to them. I decided to use that as energy to enhance my performance, right? So even though it seems as if he's tuning out the noise, he isn't. He's hearing it and he's using it.
Okay, so that was a quick clip of Kobe Bryant talking about Bill Russell and, you know, the advice he's given him, right, like I said, right before he won those two championships in 09, 2010. Now, just a little bit of a recap and pinpoint what Kobe had to say, you know, pick some things out. Obviously, you can see the admiration he has for Bill Russell. Every time the reporter asked him, you know, how did Bill Russell talk about, you know, when he talked about leadership, about when he talks to you about it, talk about that. And every time she asked that question, he said, wow. So that just highlights just the amount of, he has to almost take a step back and a deep breath because he feels like it's almost overwhelming even sharing this information, right? But one of the things that he said at the first thing he said he had to find a way to uplift his teammates. Now, for years, especially in his earlier years, like from 17 to about 26, 27, maybe a little bit more, 28, Kobe was looked at as somewhat a little bit selfish, who cared about getting his shine, about him, you know, being spectacular and just being a killer. The same reason we love Kobe Bryant is the same way people criticize him for being, you know, whether it be a shot jacker or a person that takes bad shots or feel like he can do it by himself. That was the niche on Kobe Bryant for a number of years. And it seemed to be going well because he won the three-peat with Shaquille O'Neal. They were the last team to three-peat, was the Kobe and Shaq Lakers back in 2009, 2010. So it was somewhat working. But again, he got criticized heavy for, you know, being that type of person. But nonetheless, Kobe said that he had to take a step back because he, for about 3 years from '04 to 2007, after Shaq got traded to Miami, Kobe went through somewhat what of probably one of the darkest times of his NBA career because the Lakers they're not very good as far as roster wise. They didn't have really no guys to help him win a championship, and it was a time where Kobe was not really used to losing at a dramatic pace. He got all the numbers individually, but Kobe wants to win. So when he was going through those losses from '04 to 2007, it was very miserable to the point where he was asking to force a trade out because he felt the Lakers franchise betrayed him by not giving him the pieces that they promised, like right after Shaq got traded. You got to remember when they let go of Shaq, it was almost as if they were trying to, having a new identity. It was to a new chapter. It was no longer the Kobe and Shaq Lakers, like that dominant force that the league feared for a number of years, for about 4 years straight from 2000 2004. That was no longer a thing now because you let go of the big man in the middle. So the conversations, and people don't bring this up, I'm not trying to go too much off topic, but people act like Kobe just went to the front office for no reason, or he said like, we don't have any pieces. The situation with, again, the Lakers management had an issue with this, and they have an issue with now. They don't really manage. They've had times where they've not managed their team correctly. You guys look at now with the Lakers, they're having a bad. They do not draft. They do not draft well. They do not really know how to really build a team. What they do is they get a bunch of super guys, super teams, and they go through free agency and pick up guys here and there to fill up their roster. They're not used to starting from the ground up. You know what I'm saying? They have 17 championships, so they're just used to always getting the best of the best. But Kobe at that time needed help to help him get over the hump, and they finally cracked through with 2008 with Pau Gasol, getting to the finals. Now, this is, I want to say, when Kobe said about enhancing his teammates, I want y'all to look at this roster right here. Now, people are old enough to remember 2009 this is the team that won the championship in '09. All right, a lot of familiar faces, a lot of people. If you know basketball around, if you're in your mid to late 20s, this team right here, the Lakers back in 2009. Hell, even if you're early 20s, you know what I mean? So, of course, Kobe Bryant in the middle. Then you got guys like Pau Gasol, Lamar Odom, Luke Walton, Andrew Bynum, Shannon Brown, Trevor Ariza, Derek Fisher, Sasha Vujacic, you know what I'm saying? Jordan Farmar, Adam Morrison, Shannon Brown. Like, you got guys, DJ McBanga, all these guys, Josh Powell, that were on the Lakers, man. And they won a championship, and they managed to go back to back. They managed to go to the finals 3 times in a row with this same team. There are a couple pieces moved, but all in all, this was pretty much the core. Kobe, Powell, and Andrew Bynum. That was the core, and Lamar Odom. So if we look at this team, and I'm going somewhere with this, I want y'all to stay with me. Not one of these guys outside of Kobe Bryant's a top 75 player. But yet, Kobe was still able to manage to lead this team to 3 finals. Pau Gasol, as good as he was with the Lakers, and make no mistake about it, without Pau, they would have not won. Pau Gasol is not a top 75 player. Pau Gasol is not even a Hall of Famer. Lamar Odom's not a Hall of Famer. Derek Fisher's not a Hall of Famer. Andrew Bynum wasn't a Hall of Famer. Andrew Bynum he didn't even play for 10 seasons. He played for 2 good years and made All-Stars, and everybody made it seem like Kobe Bryant just had a super team. This was not a super team whatsoever. This was a team based off of good players who knew their role, who had the best coach of all time in Phil Jackson, who created a system for these guys to be successful, and that's what wins. See, a lot of times, making a super team does not guarantee you to win. As a matter of fact, a lot of times you end up falling flat on your face. Let's look at some of the super teams they've had in the past. You had the '04 Lakers when they had the super team with Kobe, Shaq, Karl Malone, and Gary Payton. They lost in the finals to the Detroit Pistons, who were much less talented. Then you talk about the Miami Heat in 2011. They had a super team with LeBron, Chris Bosh, and D Wade. They lost to the Dallas Mavericks against Dirk Nowitzki, who was one superstar. You talk about 2012, even though I don't really count this much because, certain guys are hurt, like Dwight Howard with a bad back and Steve Nash, who was old. They tried to build a super team with Kobe and Pau at that time. It fell flat in their face. And of course, this super team in 2020 with the LA Lakers. So super teams don't always work, and it's almost because you're cheating the game. But Kobe, what he did with this team was very special, and he was able to follow Bill Russell's advice, which means you have to amplify, you have to raise up your teammates. You can't do everything by yourself, because what that does is take away from your teammates' contributions. If you're trying to score, play defense, pass, play make, rebound, all that, what is everybody else going to do? Well, Kobe, and I seen this especially in that game 7 against the Boston Celtics in 2010. People love to talk about how bad Kobe shot from the field in that game, 6 for 24, but they don't highlight the fact that he had 16 rebounds, key rebounds in pressurized situations down the stretch of that game, which was very close. And he was playing defense on Ray Allen, who went, I think, 1 for 16 from the field that game, or 1 for 11, one of those two. Kobe was clamping him up. That was pretty much the situation, Ray Allen. So he was finding ways to impact the game and give them a chance to win. So when you allow other players to, score and shoot, guys like Pau Gasol, guys like Derek Fisher, guys like Metta World Peace, guys like Andrew Bynum, who was able to take the pressure off your team, that actually enhances the chance of you winning, because guess what's going to happen? You're going to have more guys who are energized to play defense. You're going to have more guys who's going to be able to help you out on the boards. You're going to have more guys to want to, help you out all in all. It's a team game. But when you try to you don't even allow your teammates to touch the ball, when you don't allow your teammates to, feel the ball or go through the offense, then they kind of get shunned out. And that's why I say this video is more so for LeBron James. Now, I say LeBron James is a top 5 player of all time. My top 5 is Michael, Kareem, Kobe, Magic, LeBron James. Now, with Mr. Russell and Mr. Chamberlain, I do not put them in my top 5 because, again, it was a different time. So out of respect, the game was so much different. I don't rank them in my top 5. They're in a category of their own. But that's for another subject. The Lakers had a horrible season last year. Did not even make the play-in game. Right? Now, for a long time, the Lakers were trying to figure out what was going on. This was their roster. They had LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, Dwight Howard, Marc Gasol, Malik Monk, Carmelo Anthony, Taylor Horton Tucker, Kent Bazemore, and, guys rotating in and out for the most part, right? Kendrick Nunn, who was out. This team was actually expected to go to the finals. If y'all don't remember, before the season started this past year, the Lakers and the Brooklyn Nets were projected to go to the NBA Finals. Right? Anybody tell me I'm lying, let me know. But this team was projected to go to the NBA Finals. Right? So it was a big shock to everybody that they didn't even make the play-in game. Everybody was trying to say, oh, give it time throughout the season. They go, 10, 20, 30 games. They're still, not in good shape. Now, of course, you have to factor in the fact that Anthony Davis missed almost half the season. But even when Anthony Davis was playing, he was, inconsistent. And then you got to talk about Russell Westbrook not being the best fit. You got to talk about, them not having great defense on the perimeter. You got to talk about their outside shooting being streaky. There's a lot of factors that win. But you know what? This is why it's a video for LeBron James and the Lakers. Because if you look at this roster, it's easy to see why people projected them to go to the finals. Number one, you got 5 Hall of Famers and 4 top 75 players on this team. LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, Dwight Howard, Carmelo Anthony, who can still play. 4 top 75 players on this team outside of Dwight Howard from that list I just named. So Kobe at that time had none of that on this team. You see what I mean? He had none of that on his team. And this ain't a situation where these guys just can't play. Dwight Howard's 35, Carmelo's 37. Yes, they're older, but they still give you good production. And then you still have LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Russell Westbrook. And you can't even make the play-in. Right? Now, I'm not going to fault LeBron on the defensive end because, again, that's a team thing, and that's more of a concept with the coaching, finding ways to help them be great on defense. I'm not going to put that on LeBron James. But what I am going to say is there was a lot of people applauding LeBron scoring 30 points per game and playing all the minutes and staying in the game to, get his points up so he can catch Kareem in that scoring record. I always sit back and watch these games and be like, why is LeBron in the fourth quarter when they're down like by 15, 20 points? The game is over. But they needed something to talk about, and the way they can talk is by having shows about LeBron James is averaging this amount of points, 30 points, but you fail to realize that 10 of those points came in the situations where the game was out of reach. So that's what they call stat padding. And I felt that was very selfish. You understand? Now, like Kobe said, when you choose to shoot and score, and this is something I've got on LeBron before in the past too, what his playing style of dominating the ball takes away from his teammates. You can uplift your teammates to look better. Part of a superstar guy who makes everybody better is a person, again, that's just what it sounds like, makes everyone better, makes them better than what they actually are. Okay? Malik Monk was able to raise his stock this season and get a contract with the Sacramento Kings. He was a valuable piece, and I thought they could have been better this season. Spoke about how some of the vets get on the young guys a little bit too much, and they don't take much responsibility. I'm telling you in a nutshell what he was saying. So, I guess he's speaking on guys like him, Taylor Horton Tucker, maybe Stanley Johnson. The young guys, they get on, but they don't want to accept responsibility. And I would see that sometimes this season with LeBron, like especially on defense, how he would look at his teammates to play D, but again, he wouldn't be playing D. And your teammates, if they don't see you putting in any effort, they're gonna follow right behind. People gotta remember, a good indication of how your team makeup is by looking at the leader. If your team is a team that's lazy, that doesn't get back on D, who doesn't help side, who's negative, who points the finger at everybody else, chances are that captain, you need to look at your leader of your team. Does he do that? That's where it's going to come from. If your team is a team like who claps when, guys get, charged, get hit, they pick their players up, they always looking for, the extra pass and being unselfish, that means that's coming from the leader. If your team's a tough team, that means your leader is a tough leader. And that's what I saw with this Laker team when Kobe was on the team. People got to remember, man, yes, with Pau Gasol, he was very skilled, a very talented player, but he was looked at as being soft. I think people got to remember that Kobe had a lot of impact with Pau Gasol becoming a better player because of how he was able to toughen him up and not him get pushed around in the post like against guys like the Boston Celtics. You understand? And that's leadership. You can lead through talking or lead through example, or both. And when you're a guy who leads through example and you're the best player on the team and you show effort, your teammates have no choice but to follow behind you. Because they're looking at it like, man, this guy's the best player in the league and he's doing all this extra work, man. Let me get my stuff together. That's what I'm telling you. I played ball, high school, college, overseas, semi-pro. I know how this stuff works, bro. I've been the best player on teams. I've been a role player. I've been a six-man I've been pretty much almost every role you can think of. And I know how minds work when it comes to what it is when you're the star player of the team, when you're the role player, when you're a six-man off the bench, when you're any of those. I know I could put myself in a lot of these guys' minds because I've been in these situations. When you're a person that shows example that you care, your teammates are going to follow you. And if you're unselfish too, I mean, getting the guys the ball and then your best player rewarding you, oh, you really got something going. You're going to start diving for balls. You're going to start boxing out. You're going to start taking charges. You're going to start clapping. You're going to show more energy. And that just makes everything else go. I did not see that with this Laker team. I saw a lot of individual ball, a lot of pouting, crying to fans, just bad leadership. And I'm sorry, that stems from LeBron James. So my thing with this video, I was trying to say, again, LeBron's going to be a top 5 player of all time. But this next season is going to have a lot of telling if I choose to keep him in my top 5 or not. I'm not one of those to just say LeBron James is going to stay in the top 5 and that's it. There's other great players who I've left off because of LeBron James and what he's done statistically. But let's be honest, a lot of the flameouts he's had with the teams he's had, all these other great players would not have had. They would have finished the job with some of the teams that LeBron has had. I've left guys like Tim Duncan, who has 5 rings more than LeBron, who's beat LeBron in dramatic fashion in 2014. I have LeBron over Tim Duncan. I have LeBron over Larry Bird, who won 3 straight MVPs. I have LeBron over Hakeem Olajuwon. I have LeBron over Magic Johnson. I have LeBron over a lot of people who I can easily move up if a repeat of next year happens. And that's the Lakers either don't make the play in or they have another flame out in the first round. All right. But again, this is just a thing for LeBron. I think he needs to take Bill Russell's advice that he gave to Kobe Bryant, and that's you have to allow your teammates to be the best versions of themselves, and that may mean you have to let them get more shot. They not more shots than you, but you have to sacrifice some of your shots and focus more on defense. Focus more on boxing out. Focus more on other aspects of the game. Maybe you may have to allow somebody else to bring the ball up more and more, and you play out the post. And then when the time comes for you to do LeBron, then you can do that. But start off with you trying to get other players involved first. Let them get going because you can get yourself going anytime because you're just so great. But what are you doing to empower your teammates? And I'm glad Darvin Ham brought that up. He said LeBron, he needs to learn, he has to sacrifice. He needs him to sacrifice. He's gonna run the show, he's gonna do it, but I want to see LeBron sacrifice. So it's gonna be a hell of a season this year, man. I'm very excited and I can't wait. But y'all continue to follow the Pull Up Basketball Podcast, like, share, subscribe, all of our YouTube videos. You know what I'm saying? Pull up, see, pull up, share, pull out. Peace. I like swimwear.